I want to bring in the New South Wales Opposition leader, Mark Speakman, now. He's live from Macquarie Street in Sydney. Mark Speakman, thanks for your time. Will the New South Wales Police be able to stop the upcoming rally, which we believe is expected over the weekend in Sydney?
Well, I hope police are doing everything possible to prevent that rally happening. I understand there'll be 1,000 police on the ground. It's really inappropriate at this time, I think, for a rally like that to go ahead so soon after the atrocities we've seen in Israel on the last weekend.
Do you accept the way the New South Wales government has handled this? Obviously, on the weekend, the Premier has apologised for how that unfolded, but do you think that he has given bipartisan support, strong bipartisan support, to both Israel and the Jewish community in Sydney?
Well, look, I think it's been a very mixed response from the government. The Premier apologised, and that was a very sincere and fulsome apology, and it was appropriate for him to do so. And he certainly spoke very well at the vigil last night. But there have been failings by this government. There was an appropriate announcement that the Opera House would be illuminated, like many landmarks around the world, to signify solidarity with the victims of atrocities. But if you're going to announce something like that, you've got to plan and implement it properly. And there was a total lack of planning and implementation by the government. Instead of it being an occasion for the Jewish community to grieve, to mourn, to come together at this iconic site, we saw Australia's most famous landmark being beamed around the world, with people chanting disgusting anti-Semitic slogans, burning a flag, lighting flares. So that was a complete debacle. And I think a lot of that lies at the feet of the police minister. She had the Jewish community pleading with her to stop this attack, this descent on the Opera House from happening. She did nothing. She didn't ask the police to stop it. She didn't lift a finger to stop it. She is not up to the job, and unfortunately a lesson we've learned from this, although I think we've known it for a while, is that the police and counter-terrorism minister here in New South Wales must be replaced. And it's not just a matter of her failure to handle these sorts of protests. We're going now into a period of elevated tension, of elevated risk, looking at the escalation of hostilities in the Middle East, and you need someone at the helm who's going to instill public confidence and be across the brief. And the police and counter-terrorism minister isn't up to the task. So I think the Premier's first priority now is to find a new minister.
So you're saying the police minister should have directed the police to carry out an operation to stop that protest. You're a former Attorney General. Do police ministers do that? Do they give directions to operations in terms of the police?
Well, look, operations are generally in the hands of the police themselves, and that's appropriately so. But the police minister has the power under the Police Act to direct the commissioner in management and control of the police force. I asked the minister today in question time what power she had, and she appeared to be completely unaware she even had this power. So a direction was a possibility, but moral suasion was a possibility as well. And there doesn't appear to be any attempt by the police and counter-terrorism minister to ask the police what they could do, how they could prevent this descent happening. There was a protest happening at Town Hall that was going on. That was well known. I don't understand why you couldn't have had the riot squad outside of the Opera House preventing a mob descending there. It's just beyond comprehension.
The Greens have encouraged the rallies. They've been promoting them. What do you say to their involvement, support?
Well, that's a sad indictment of the Greens' hypocrisy. I mean, they parade themselves here in New South Wales and across Australia as the champion of human rights. I believe a basic human right is the right to life, the right not to be exposed to the depravity of rape and of torture and beheading that we've seen in Israel, and instead the Greens balk at supporting a motion here in the New South Wales Parliament condemning all that. So they're absolute hypocrites.
Yeah, well, there's a time and a place, isn't there, to be making political arguments about the historical dispute in the Middle East when we are just days out from what has been one of the worst terrorist atrocities in recent times, Mr. Speakman.
Exactly, and there can be legitimate debates about the long-term solutions in the Middle East and the origins of the conflict, but that does not excuse the barbarity, the depravity that we have seen in Israel last weekend, with beheadings, with rape, with torture. It's just absolutely sickening. It defies comprehension that any human being could possibly do that to another human being. And yet we see the Greens here in New South Wales balk at a motion expressing sympathy and condemning that violence.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Now, you're the member for Cronulla, and many of our viewers would remember the difficulty, the tensions, the tension around our social fabric around the Cronulla riots many years ago. I wonder, have you been thinking about that in terms of this event and the prospect of various parts of the Sydney and New South Wales community being strained once more in the face of what is a shocking event in the Middle East?
Well, I think it's incumbent on all public leaders here in New South Wales to bring communities together, to make sure that tensions aren't inflamed any more than they may be at the moment. Certainly on the 10th anniversary of that riot, the police were very effective in diffusing the situation there. There wasn't a repeat of that. And it just defies comprehension that what happened at the Opera House on Monday night couldn't have been prevented. When the police minister knew that the mob intended to go to the Opera House, the rally at Town Hall had been well publicised on social media. The Greens were out there promoting attendance at that rally. It should have been prevented. And instead, we had the shocking spectacle for the Jewish community and for Australia's reputation around the world. And we've since now got many members of the Jewish community fearing for their safety.
When it comes to the Palestinian Action Group, they have made a statement where they intended a peaceful rally, but it was intercepted by a tiny fringe of anti-Semitic attendees, a tiny fringe of vile anti-Semitic attendees who were told to leave. Do you accept that defence of the organisers?
Look, I don't know that I can at the moment. The best indicator of future performance is past performance. The best evidence of what might happen on the weekend at another rally is what happened on Monday night. So at the moment, I think you've got to give public safety the benefit of the doubt.
Mark Speakman, New South Wales Opposition Leader, appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kieran.